there, good morning and welcome to News Desk. I am Apeatse. Our top stories, latest CDD report shows 9 people engaged in illicit activities finance political parties in Ghana. Also, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta describes opposition National Democratic Congress's resistance to the E-levy as misplaced and asks them to provide alternatives. Also in this bulletin, President's nominee for Adaklu District Chief Executive position rejected for the 5th time. Details of these plus sports and business in this bulletin. Remember, this is your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. Stay with us for details.
Hi, this is Lexus Bill, host of Drive Time on Joy 99.7 FM. Listen, you don't have to worry if you miss Drive Time or Personality Profile. It's going to be live on our podcast page. Just log on to www.myjoyonline.com/podcast. You can listen to Drive Time, Personality Profile, and any other of your favorite shows on Joy FM on that page. You don't have to miss a show at all. Joy 99.7 FM, radio for discerning listeners.
In our first story, 9 persons alleged to be engaged in illicit activities including fraud and galamsey doled out millions of CDs in support of the electoral bid of politicians in anticipation of receiving juicy contracts. These are the findings of a CDD survey that puts the cost of running a good presidential campaign at a minimum of $100 million. There's more in the following report.
The researchers engaged residents of Greater Accra, Eastern, Ashanti and Western regions. At least 40 informants were interviewed. Cost of making a parliamentary bid was placed at 4 million cedis, while that of presidential elections was $100 million.
The other part, which was a surprise, we didn't set out to get this data, was trying to estimate the cost to run for president. And at the validation sessions, we found, or we were told, that it will cost about $100 million. And these estimates were given by people who had been part of presidential campaigns, very high up. We didn't set out to find this one, but it came to us. We think further research is needed so that we can itemize the cost to know exactly what goes into it.
9 persons alleged to be engaged in illicit trade are said to have financed the election bid of some candidates.
In terms of what we found, we identified 9 financiers of candidates and political parties funding to them who were allegedly engaged in illicit activities and funneling the money back. And these financiers were engaged in illegal mining, galamsey. Ever wonder why it's so difficult to get in this problem solved? Illegal oil distribution, bunkering in the coast, particularly in the oil city.
The political parties are not surprised but want reforms.
Our expenditure as a nation has increased at all levels, from personal to institutions to political parties. So the 4 million and the 100 million, I cannot authoritatively state, but I know that expenditures have run and there's the need to cut it.
I don't know whether I'll be able to actually say with some certainty, because nobody comes to offer funding and tells you that I'm engaged in human sacrifice or anything. You understand? The person may come and offer, and usually that is what they will be doing. It is only when you come to power that somebody will come and say that, well, this person, this business, help us with it and so on. So nobody will come and disclose that me, I kill human beings, or I'm a terrorist, so I'm coming to finance your party. Nobody will accept that type of funding. So
the CDD's Dr. Kojo Asante believes relevant state institutions must act.
Immediately, we are trying to constitute a small group with different people with very long history of working in this area to draft a roadmap. What do we do and within what time frame, with all the considerations that we can put in it, so that we will have a plan that we can, as civil society, as media, we can push and say, we need to make these reforms quickly.
Whether the needed amendments to check campaign financing will be followed through.
Research analyst with CDD Gilfred Asiama explains the situation has been occasioned by huge expenditure that parties are faced with and the fact that they are unable to raise funds from their members.
Political party expenditure is increasing over the years. Parties is the fact that you have a lot of people who identify themselves with these political parties, but when it comes to those who have registered as card-bearing members, you have few of them, and even within this bracket, you have few people who are willing to challenge with this problem. Is that our political parties are also becoming more or less like electoral machines. They are more focused on winning elections than mobilizing or canvassing their membership for them to believe in their programs and ideas and for them to own those political parties. Higher funding of their political parties has not been matched, and expenditure is increasing.
Right.
So I think it is expected that we have this kind of challenge at this time, even though the amount and the figures involved is shocking. And it's shocking because if you look at the expenditure to be a member of parliament, when you combine the 4-year salary of an MP with allowances upon themselves to even go to the next election. So it is very surprising.
Political scientist at the University of Ghana, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, says revelation is worrying for our democracy.
There is a lack of political will on the part of holders of political power. They come with all manner of promises, slogans, and all that. And when it comes to the real implementation of what the policies, I'm afraid they shy away. Why are we saying that? Because if you look at the factors that determine voter choices in this country, one of it, the third one, of course, is what the fight against corruption. So they will come and deal with corruption, only to come to office and realize that they have nothing to help us to deal with this issue. It's very, very unfortunate. What is more is that when you allow this system to exist for a very long time, then you create all manner of groups or networks that come to affect the political system. Take for instance the findings by CDD that there are a number of groups who are funding political parties, and they are doing a lot of illicit businesses and all that. Then I ask people who are doing illicit businesses and still funding political parties. So what would be your will to deal with those people when they cross the line? You know them as people who are in this business, and you only pretend that you have the right people to finance the parties and so forth and so on. That hypocritical position on the part of leadership of political parties is unfair to us, because this is a democracy that we have sacrificed all things in order to make it work. And when people want to sabotage the process, very worrying and very unfortunate.
Anti-graft campaigner Edem Senanu has also shared his thoughts on this. He says there is the need for constitutional amendment to deal with the problem.
We need to change the architecture, have a law that is clear-cut in terms of who's going to execute and how, citizen groups and other entities can be involved in this process. They don't have the political will. That's more than evident. If they did, even between the Electoral Commission, that's supposed to be requiring annual audited reports. It's not happening. And so we need to rethink that whole architecture well defined by law. So we don't have a situation where 3-4 years they are campaigning, because that's what they're doing, running around the country, expending resources, driving V8s, and making a bill for us. And then let's cut it down. Let's say 6 months of the election year or 9 months of the election year. So we're going into 2024, and then it's from June or it's from March. That's one. Then the issue of ceilings. So let's cut it and say individuals not more than 5,000, corporates not more than 25,000 or whatever, so that then we can track. And then it compels you to have a message that people can buy into, and therefore when they are funding, we know that, look, it is because we believe in your message, not because you've gone around trying to compel corporates and whatnot to give you money. Otherwise, their businesses will be shut down after they will enforce outside the political elite themselves. Otherwise, they're not going to make any changes. And truly speaking, I think that the starting point again will be the constitutional changes to tighten up some of these gaps that we are recognized in the lifespan of the current 1992 constitution.
Let's go to the Volta region, where the Adaklu District Assembly there has rejected a nominee for the position of District Chief Executive for the 5th consecutive time. Juliana Petdokpo, who was the 3rd nominee for the position, polled 9 yes votes against 10 no votes when she was presented to the Assembly for confirmation on Wednesday. The Assembly members appealed to the local government ministry to do a wider consultation with stakeholders before nominating anybody for the position, else he or she would be rejected.
Before the voting process to confirm or reject the nominee, appointments of government appointees were revoked and 6 new appointees were sworn in. The Volta Regional Minister, Dr. Archibald Lecha, who has been acting as DCE for Adaklu, appealed to Assembly members to confirm the nominee to reduce his workload.
I will be very happy if you have your own DC here with you, so that documents will not be brought to me in work anymore, and so that I can hand over to her and also concentrate on my job. I am appealing because the choice is yours. Nobody can coerce you, but we are only pleading and appealing to you to approve the nominee for us today. So, Presiding Member, I'm very grateful for the opportunity, and I will hand over to you. And at this juncture, I have the honor and the privilege to introduce to you the President's nominee for the position of DC Adaklu, the person of Juliana Petdokpo. Yeah. So she's here for you to do the needful so that we can go to home.
Dr. Lecha's plea, however, fell on deaf ears. 10 of the Assembly members voted against the nominee, while 9 voted in her favor. This is the 5th time the Adaklu District Assembly is rejecting the President's DCE nominee in the 2nd term of the New Patriotic Party. So far, 3 nominees have been rejected. But the Adaklu District Assembly presiding member, Winfred Agbogbo, believes the story might change if a wider consultation is done before the next nominee is selected.
It is important for us to cross this bridge. And I believe one of the things we have to do, which will enable us to end the brouhaha about our DC confirmation in the district, is to do broader consultation and consensus building, because it has been a hectic period for us. And we promise sincerely that if this is done, I can assure government that we'll be able to confirm the next person they bring to this house without any difficulty.
Nonetheless, the Akachi North District Assembly finally approved a nominee to occupy the DCE position after several attempts. Ofosu Simon Peter, who was the 3rd DCE nominee, polled 13 yes votes against 4 no votes on Wednesday when he was presented to the Assembly. There was a rejected ballot. Fred Kwame Asari, JoyNews, Adaklu, Wire.
Let's get further analysis on this from Frederick Adaklu, who is a Dean of the Institute of Local Government Studies. Thanks for joining us and good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Now, let's talk about this. What do you make of the story that we just played?
Well, for me, there are two key things. I did hear the presiding member talking about extensive consultation, which I do agree. But then another thing that struck me was the fact that the nominee was a woman.
Okay.
And that we don't have enough women as district chief executives. But the few we are having are also facing this kind of challenge.
Yeah.
Which saddens me so much. Because if you're looking at the factors that are leading to maybe why we aren't getting enough women, this could be one of the factors.
Okay.
So these are things that we must bring into broader discussion, because when we talk about lack of consultation, what is it? I mean, in all the other places where there extensive consultation which led to the nominees being accepted.
Mm-hmm.
And what is the level of consultation expected in this particular instance to enable us to choose somebody suitable for the position? More so, why is it always difficult for women particularly, and even to an extent, people with disability having difficulty when they are nominated for some of these positions?
Mm.
I think there must be a greater level of public education about the need for women representation. I am not enthused one bit about this whole thing.
Now, talking about public education, do you think the views of the people matter in deciding who should head the local assemblies?
I mean, in all representation, the views of people who are going to be the direct beneficiaries matter. But then, to what extent? If we look at the legal regime, there must be consultation, but the consultation must not lead to the fact that a group will say, we don't want this. Some people may even rise up and say, as for us, we cannot be represented by women. Sometimes it may not be so obvious, but I mean, if you look at the undercurrent, some of these things come up. For me, we don't get enough of the women being nominated. So what is so difficult about the few who are nominated? We giving them the opportunity to serve. If this continues, it creates the impression that, the president, not this particular president, our president, failed to nominate women. But then, when you hear about affirmative action schemes going on, that people within the communities, within particular localities are kicking against women nominees, then it leaves a lot to be desired.
Now, this being the fifth time she's being rejected, do you think the president should withdraw the nominee and choose someone else?
I think maybe yes, because if a person has also been presented several times, though legally the president can keep on nominating same person.
Okay.
But if somebody has been presented several times and that person has also not succeeded in convincing the electorate, in this case the assembly members, to vote for them, then I think it is time another view is taken about the nominee. But I'm praying very hard that the president will bring another woman to replace her.
Yeah.
And I believe within the Adaklu district, there are illustrious women who are very capable of holding that.
Yeah.
But I would also like to plead with assembly members. So far, they've not been able to come out with any specific accusation as to why they are refusing to vote for their nominee. If we want to talk about consultation, but people will not come out and state categorically, we don't want this person because of ABC, but then we keep on going through the system. I don't think it's going to be good for us. But I believe that we must all rise up and talk about the need to have enough women. The numbers are woeful. So the few we are getting, if you keep rejecting them, I don't think it's fair.
All right, this has already happened 5 times. What's the way forward?
The way forward, my suggestion would be for a new nomination.
Okay.
A new person being nominated. And my prayer is for that person to be a woman. If we can do that, and in this case, people should be clear in their mind what they expect of their district chief executive.
Yeah.
And based on that, the presidency and the ministry, that's the Ministry for Local Government for that matter, in coming up with their choice, must ensure that whoever is selected is fit for the position. But the consideration for selecting the person must never be based on gender.
All right, thank you very much. That is Mr. Frederick Ajakodro, who is a dean at the Institute of Local Government Studies. Let's do some other stories now. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has been questioning the National Democratic Congress's resistance to the E-levy, describing it as misplaced. As part of government's strategy to rally support for the policy, it has held a second town hall in the Western region where Mr. Ofori-Atta and other government officials have been speaking.
So I think the NDC stance about not having E-levy may be misplaced, but it's not because they are not patriotic. But when we do the numbers, you realize that really we are at a point in history where we need to do things differently, to be able to cross the issues that are confronting us with regards to youth employment, which affects all of us and really goes to the dignity of our people who are home, the issue of our debt, so that we can start mobilizing our own resources. But to be able to do that is to ensure that all of us contribute. I mean, the argument could be immediately if you say that right now, as Madam Central Region mentioned, that we have only 2.4 million people access for the whole nation of 30.8 million. Now that can't be right, we know that. So even for this year's budget, for example, and this is for Keck to tell his people, that if there are 21 million mobile money subscribers, so you begin to ask, what the resistance is. Then you ask us why we are bringing that. And you see that, the world is changing. It's changing tremendously. Where therefore e-commerce, and virtual business is now becoming the order of the day. So for example, we had 78 billion CDs of transfers in 2016. In 2021, the year we've just left, it was 953 billion, meaning it's going to go to the trillions. And you are beginning to see how the economy is shifting. In the same way in which we abolished certain nuisance taxes because they were not relevant and we needed people to be energized. Also the realization that the economy is shifting. And if it is shifting, then when do we get a head start at it to begin to understand that business and also therefore to be able to raise the revenue required, because you can see 78 billion moving to 953 billion and you can see the trillions coming. And the opportunity therefore of digitalization to also then move to all of us being a part of it, and this sense that, this is pernicious, etc., you then ask your opposition people exactly where we are going to get this type of resources, in an economy that is growing, that is getting modern, that certain things must be needed so that the dignity of all of us is enhanced.
You're still watching Joy News Desk with me, Apeatse. Let's head to Kempinski now, where there's an Ecowas heads of State Summit, and Alton John Berber is there to give us an update. Please just give us a bit of what's happening there.
Right, so Maps, we are currently coming to you from the right. So the event itself, or the meeting, is starting in the next few minutes. President Akufo-Addo and some of the leaders who are participating in this extraordinary meeting of ECOWAS, they are in the holding room, and very soon they will move to the main conference hall here at the Campisi Hotel for the meeting itself to start. This is a follow-up to last Friday's virtual meeting, at which ECOWAS condemned the military takeover in Burkina Faso, suspended Burkina Faso from all ECOWAS activities, and urged them to return the country back to constitutional rule, after which a high-level delegation led by Ghana's foreign minister visited Burkina Faso, met with the interim president of Burkina Faso, urged him to respect the terms and conditions set forth by ECOWAS. Now, this meeting primarily will look at the outcome of that delegation meeting with the Burkina Faso military leader, and that will form the basis upon which they will discuss this matter. Remember that there's also an outstanding issue relating to Mali, and then also the failed coup attempt in Guinea-Bissau. So West Africa is increasingly becoming unstable. So today's meeting will look at the state of security in West Africa. We'll take a look at the report of the Sherry Ayokoboche's committee that went to Burkina Faso. And then after that, ECOWAS leaders will have to deliberate and come to a conclusion on what to do next. It doesn't appear to me that the military regime in Burkina Faso is ready to respect the directives by ECOWAS after that virtual meeting. They have been suspended. Would this meeting take a decision that will say that we are going to block all, borders, or countries that are borders, Burkina Faso are going to have their borders shut? Are they going to restrict movement of the military regime in Burkina Faso? These are some of the issues that we will be discussing here at the ECOWAS Summit. But let me quickly bring in a military, a security expert, Abim Sanim, who is here as an observer, if I get it right.
Exactly so. And I'm also here to engage a number of international media on the issue.
All right, so the matter in question is about the insecurity that we appear to be witnessing here in West Africa, and what ECOWAS can do to firm its position in the sub-region, because President Akufo-Addo was quite emphatic when he said that every country in West Africa appears to be under some kind of a threat because of what is happening in the region. What do you make of what is happening in West Africa, and what more can ECOWAS do to stamp its authority on the creeping insecurity that we are witnessing?
All right, so before ECOWAS will be able to do anything, we need to understand the context under which some of these coups is happening, okay? There are some deep-seated socioeconomic and geopolitical deficits, which usually are country-specific. That creates that Molotov cocktail that sometimes explodes in our face. However, there are a number of issues that are common and cuts across, okay? The inability of some states to provide the two basic functions of the state. One, the provision of physical security, and of course, the provision of human security. That is a major issue that is pushing a lot of young people into uncertainty, that is creating disenchantment, and of course that is creating anger in a lot of these countries. So let's take Guinea for instance. Before the coup, there were protests. And unfortunately, a lot of these leaders feel that once they have the military behind them, I mean, the citizens can do whatever they like. They are not going to budge. Burkina Faso, there were mass protests as well. Last year in June, there was an attack that resulted in the deaths of over 160 civilians in a town called Sohan. And in November, in a town called Inata, there was also an attack on gendarmes, resulting in the deaths of dozens of them. So all of these is what is creating that fertile ground for coups to happen. And let me add that coups are contagious. And the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, couldn't have gotten it right. He said that we seem to have found ourselves in a coup epidemic. And Africa has never seen this since 1999. Last year, we had 4 successful coups. Unfortunately, ECOWAS is losing legitimacy. The sanctions regime is not working. They are not respected. Soldiers decide to take over the reins of power without recourse to what ECOWAS thinks about it. So I think it is important that ECOWAS rethinks on its templates. The usual statement issuing, meeting to suspend, sanctions, second sanctions. No, it's not working.
But again, let me ask this question. ECOWAS, just like AU or the UN, cannot directly be seen to be interfering in the internal politics of these countries. At best, what they can do is to institute sanctions, condemn the acts, and then find ways to return these countries to constitutional rule. So really, what more can they do beyond what you think that they are lacking?
Well, the sanctions regime, it goes without saying, doesn't affect the ruling class. It is the people. A lot of these countries are grappling with Al-Qaeda and ISIS-affiliated groups. So when we sanction, we are emboldening these groups, and this would pose an existential threat to the security of the wider West African sub-region, because the historical and cultural closeness of the countries makes it very common for a spillover effect to happen. So it is in the interest of ECOWAS to ensure there is peace and security in Mali and these other countries. Secondly, I think that there's what we call an ECOWAS protocol on good governance. Right. So in as much as we issue statements to condemn the militaries, we should also equally issue statements to condemn governments who manipulate their constitutions to extend their rule. As simple as that.
All right, so perhaps after whatever will come out of this meeting is out, then we can have a discussion as to whether they can bite or they can bring about the change that ECOWAS is seeking in this country. I want to thank you very much for joining us on JoyNews. So that's Habib Sani. He's a security expert. So Maps, very soon I will take you to the main conference room where member states of ECOWAS are meeting for the program, for the meeting itself to start. Remember that Ghana shares border with Burkina Faso. So the insecurity in Burkina Faso will have an impact in the way things are done at our borders. Already, we have been told by the Ghana Refugee Board that over 1,500 Burkinabes have already fled into Ghana seeking asylum because of the instability in that country. Already, there are about 100,000 of them already seeking asylum in Ghana. If you look at the other West African countries that are experiencing this, clearly tells you that Ghana is not an island and everything must be done to deal with this insecurity that is being witnessed in the sub-region. President Akufo-Addo, being the chair of ECOWAS, has a lot of responsibilities to bring these matters to a close. How they are able to do it, the communique after this meeting will tell us how far ECOWAS is willing to bite to bring peace and stability in West Africa.
Colleague Alton John Berber giving us an update of that ECOWAS meeting that's about to start in the next 10 to 15 minutes. Remember, you can tune in onto or stay here on DSTV channel 421 and go to channel 144. We will be bringing you that event live. Let's do some other stories now, where Registrar General Jemima Owari is asking clients who want to register their companies to be patient. She understands that there have been some complaints about the slow system, but they will rectify the system. She was speaking on the AM show.
The switches and all those things are sort of end of life, but they informed us about that. It's not as though they informed us.
How many years ago was this when they told you about, when you were taking over?
Within the year before they transferred it to us, but government is now taking steps to replace all those things. So that is really one of the reasons why things are not like it was before. The service.
And when we came in, interestingly, right when we came in, there was an issue, and
no, that's a different, because we are starting everything. It's not that every day it's an hour's delay. No. Once you start it, it's able to serve us at the end of the day. So what that would mean is that a client down there
would have to wait for a while.
Yeah, would be stressed, but it will come up and will finally move. It's better than nothing.
Better than nothing.
Yes.
At least when it comes back, it's fit for purpose.
Yeah. And government has assured us through the e-transform project and the Ministry of Communication to replace all the servers and the switches. So I believe that before the end of the year we'll have a better system.
And at least we can do away with the long winding queues.
Yeah.
It was interesting because coming up, not just at the main gate and the people queuing, but I mean the cars, but people in there. You could tell the people
Let
were.
me say this: the law, the Companies Act, has specifically stated within 2 years there should be no walking.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we are pushing for that. But as I told you, you need a system that is intelligent enough to ensure that all the rules are being complied with. In most developed countries where businesses are done, for instance, in Singapore, within 30 minutes, you have a certificate.
Right.
They built the system with all the rules that the lawyer could look out for. So the system.
So now the human interface is not really
yes.
needed.
So you really need to make sure that that kind of system is in place. But currently, what we have, you need a human interface more, and as I'm saying, it could delay the process of approval.
Residents of Apeatse community may soon see the reconstruction of their destroyed buildings. The committee tasked to manage a trust fund created to help rebuild the community says President Akufo-Addo has redeemed his pledge of 100,000 Ghana cedis to the Apeatse Fund. While officially announcing the commencement of the collection of donations, Chairperson of the committee, Reverend Dr. Joyce Aye, says the committee is hopeful they can begin dispersing the funds by end of March 2022.
But on Thursday, 27th January, the members of the committee, led by our able sector minister, Honorable Jinapo, paid a courtesy call on His Excellency the President, and we received our first donation from the President, who has personally donated 100,000 Ghana cedis to the Apeatse Support Fund. We can't say thank you enough to the President for his exemplary leadership, using the highest standards of integrity and transparency. We disburse these funds for the benefit of the community and the reconstruction of the community, as well as the restoration of livelihoods to the community. We hadn't come to you earlier because we wanted to make sure that all the important things that we need to do have been done. For example, we need bank accounts. We cannot receive your money for you not to know where we're going to place the money. So we have got bank accounts now. One is at GCB Bank. That's a new name. The GCB Bank. And the other is at Stanbic Bank. And so we encourage all of us to use whatever means, check, cash, all the QR and so on, to be able to pay the money. But we are projecting that we'll be able to use the momentum, because usually it's the momentum that fuels a lot of giving. And we're hoping that by the end of March, we would have sufficient funds for them to begin working with these funds.
Meanwhile, government has tasked the Minerals Commission to be vigilant in its supervision of mining activities in the country. Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Samuel Abujinapo, says safety at the mining areas is key on the agenda of the government following the disaster at Apeatse. There's more in this report by Michael Ashali.
Government says it is committed to resourcing the Minerals Commission to ensure the safety of all stakeholders in the mining sector. The Lands Minister, Samuel Abujinapo, says the incident at Apeatse emphasizes the need to ensure the Commission is adequately resourced to work efficiently. He entreated the Commission to be vigilant. The Minister handed over a range of assorted equipment, including 10 gas monitors and 20 vehicles.
The whole issue of health and safety of mining, and for those of you who are familiar with the extractive industry of the world, health and safety is the key pillar of the extractive industry. Extractive without a robust health and safety regime is just as bad as anything, and it shouldn't even exist. It is so for mining. And what happened in Apeatse should tell us that if the explosion had happened in, say, Takwa or Bogoso, touch wood, perish the thought, only God knows what would have happened. And therefore, it brings your duty and your mandate and your work to the fore. And the centrality of your responsibility cannot be overemphasized. So I'm here to present 20 pickup vehicles to support the commission. In addition, I'm presenting 10 blast monitors, which will be used to monitor vibrations during blasting in quarries and mines. Additionally, 107 desktop computers, 68 laptops, 3 survey equipment, 2 plotters, and 1 backup storage device. As you can tell, 2022 must indeed be a year of action. So whilst I do this, what I will call upon you is for us to ramp up with our efforts, and God willing, sometime next week, we are going to roll out a series of interventions to enhance and then also develop a blueprint and a pathway to enhance the health and safety of mining in our country.
Receiving the items, Chief Executive Officer of the Commission, Martin Kweku Ayisi, said the items will be dispatched, and he assured they will be efficiently used.
You can imagine what this will do to us. Mining takes place in 16 regions in Ghana. So what is important is logistics, vehicles, office buildings, and training for the staff. So if the government can give us these kind of items, we are super grateful. These are 20 vehicles. They are all going to our district offices to enhance monitoring and inspection. So we are very grateful. They are quite expensive. The action happens in the district. So these things are not going to be in the head office. We are taking them to the various districts of the Minerals Commission, and we shall be getting more. The government has promised to give us more in the course of the year.
The Minister for Lands and Natural Resources is hopeful that these donations of vehicles and equipment will go a long way to improve the working outcomes of the Minerals Commission. Reporting for JoyNews, Michael Ashali.
You're still watching JoyNews Desk. Up next is business.
Hello, my name is Evans Mensah, and you can relive all the fun and excitement on Top Story, Newsnight, and of course, Ghana Connect via podcast. All you need to do is to log on to my Joy Online/podcast. Search for your favorite show and relive the moment. Joy 99.7 FM, your radio for discerning listeners.
Joy 99.7.
Good morning, welcome to business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Deng Limited says it remains committed to projects aimed at equipping ex-inmates with skills before being integrated into society. The company, which provides engineering solutions in solar power systems, amongst others, in the sub-region, says helping such persons promotes social equity. Chairman of Deng Limited, Engineer Felix Kwanzaa, was speaking to Joy Business after commissioning a solar project for Prison Ministry of Ghana at Esutuare in the Greater Accra region. Correspondent Kwame Yanka has more in this report.
The Halfway Home project under the Prison Ministry of Ghana is aimed at equipping ex-inmates with skills before integrating into society. One of such is farming, but this has been difficult in the absence of water. Prison Ministry in 2017 then contacted Deng Limited for the solar facility which will help supply water for the year-round farming under the Halfway Home project. With support from its sister organization, Bofan Foundation, and Green People's Energy under GIZ, the solar facility is ready. Chairman of Deng Limited, Engineer Felix Kwanzaa, says the facility costs 150,000 cedis and falls under their corporate social responsibility.
The kind of satisfaction Deng and Bofam has stems from the fact that we're giving the discharged prisoners their lives back, supporting how sustainably this project could run. Because this project, as we have heard earlier, has been constrained basically because of water. They do their plantation in the dry season, it waits off. So basically, to make this project sustainable has been our first. And what we would love to say here is that we want to encourage those churches just supporting the prisons ministry. I mean, to encourage other churches as well to support this worthy cause.
Meanwhile, founding chair, Prison Ministry of Ghana, Samokujeto, who was once in prison, is excited the project has manifested after 3 decades.
Having been inside the prison, having hobnobbed with convicts, even though I was not a convict, you feel you are part of them. You feel for them. And you feel the helplessness of many of them, particularly those who have even finished serving their sentence and they are discharged. Many of them are not welcome home. And it's depressing just to watch them. And so, for me to be involved in the prisons ministry, where we took a decision that it is important for us to have a halfway home, where a discharged prisoner can have a home he can lay his head, a place where he can do some work and earn a little income, and then build himself up eventually. To me, 31 years of waiting, this is a day for rejoicing.
Representatives from Prison Service, GIZ, among others, were present for the commissioning.
Now, the International Monetary Fund has indicated its readiness to extend program support to Ghana if it gets a request from government. This was in response to an email sent to the fund over calls for government to subscribe to a program to help stabilize the economy. George Afe has more.
The fund in the email maintained that it stands ready to support the country in any way deemed useful to government, but however noted that this must be based on a formal request by government. The IMF also stated that the authorities in Ghana have not made any request for a program, as in behind-the-scenes discussions. There are rumors making round that as a Plan B strategy, this administration is looking at the option of going to the IMF should plans seeking Parliament's approval for the E-levy delay or doesn't fall through. Government, on the other hand, is pushing back calls for it to go for an IMF program, insisted it has what it takes to deal with the current challenges. Some economists have also argued that going to the IMF might not just be about the financial package that it offers, but rather the assurance that it gives investors and the country's development partners about things turning around quickly, as government cannot do it alone in dealing with the current challenge. On the current difficulties facing the economy now, the IMF linked it to the challenge in matching expenditure with revenue, as well as improving upon tax collections and containing the country's rising debt stock. Some of the country's development partners have also told Joy Business that if government can implement additional programs to quickly stabilize the economy, then the fund program might not be necessary now. But for others, time will tell whether an IMF program is needed now, later, or never.
And that's business. Sports is coming up next. Don't go anywhere.
Hello, I'm Dori Nando. You can catch up with all the fun on the Cosmopolitan Mix and on all our shows via podcast. Just go to My Joy Online podcast and search for your favorite show and relive those moments all over again. Only on Joy 99.7 FM, radio for discerning listeners.
Super Hits Radio, Joy 99.7.
It's time for sports, and today my favorite person is not here. We have Haruna Mubarak.
Exactly. That's the correct pronunciation.
That's the correct, Haruna Mubarak.
Exactly.
All right, Mubarak, what do you have for us today?
Yes, Senegal in the history books because they've become the third team to qualify to back-to-back Afcon finals in the competition's history. Yes.
Okay.
The first team was our own Ghana. Yeah, they won the title in 1963, went to the finals again in 1965. And the second team is Egypt, 2006, 2008. They were in the finals.
Okay.
And now
it's
Senegal. So they are the
Senegal
third
is 2022 and what year?
2019.
2019.
Yeah, 2019
okay.
They lost the finals to Algeria.
Okay,
so,
okay.
And they've not won the competition before, so they are really eager to win it this time around.
I see.
Yeah, so
what was the score? I didn't watch that.
You didn't watch it? Well,
I was sleeping.
Senegal were emphatic. They won by 3-1.
I see.
Yes, and Sadio Mane was on target. He did so well. He scored a goal and then also assisted. And for the Liverpool player in this competition, he has scored 3 goals and assisted 2 in just 6 Afcon games.
Yeah.
So he's in contention to win the player of the tournament. He has done so well, the Liverpool man, as compared to Mohamed Salah of Egypt. And talking about Mohamed Salah, Egypt are playing tonight. They are facing the host Cameroon.
I see.
A very, very difficult game.
Did anybody from Egypt get covered? Because apparently there's a theory going on that if you play Cameroon, the host nation, a few of your players will contract COVID.
Yes, exactly. We heard those stories, but as of tonight's game, there is nothing like that. All the players of Egypt are really fit for this game, including Mohamed Salah.
Yes. All right, so it's going to be Senegal, in the finals going to be Senegal versus either Cameroon or Egypt.
Yes, and what's interesting about this game is Cameroon, they've won the Afcon 5 times.
Oh, I see.
Egypt have won it 7 times.
And Senegal hasn't won it.
Exactly.
Okay, so we have Egypt that's won it 7 times.
Yes.
And then we have Cameroon that's won it 5 times.
Exactly.
And we have Senegal, who are through to the finals, that has never won it.
Exactly.
I see. Okay, that's going to be an interesting game.
They are waiting for the winner of the game tonight. Maybe they can win their first Afcon.
And when is the final game?
The final is on Sunday.
The final is on Sunday.
Exactly. Sunday.
Okay, it's going to be
and then the third playoff stage is on Saturday. Because now the loser in tonight's game will face Burkina Faso for the 3rd position spot.
Okay, wait. Okay, let's backtrack a bit.
Okay.
Say that Saturday, the playoffs.
Yes,
okay,
for the 3rd position.
For the 3rd position.
Yes.
So that means they'll play Egypt or Cameroon will play
so
Burkina Faso.
Exactly.
The loser.
The winner will face Senegal in the finals.
Okay,
The loser will face Burkina Faso for the 3rd position.
Why are they facing Burkina Faso?
Because Burkina Faso, they've lost, so they are no more in the final.
Yeah, I get that, but why that country? Like, why not another team?
Because they've qualified for the semi-finals. Exactly. So it's now 4 teams in the semi-final. So we have Senegal, we have Egypt, we have Cameroon, and then Burkina Faso.
So Burkina Faso right now, its position is what? Is number 3.
They have to win.
Right now. If they were to win.
Yes. No, now.
This is so confusing.
It's not confusing.
Okay.
Relax. Let me explain it to you.
Explain to me, please.
Okay. So we are at the semi-final stage.
Yes.
Consisting of just 4 teams.
Yes.
Like I mentioned, Cameroon, Egypt, Burkina Faso, and Senegal.
That makes sense. Okay, that makes sense.
So
I didn't know who Senegal played.
Oh, okay.
That's why I was confused. Why is Burkina Faso? Yeah, okay, no, now I get it.
Are you okay?
Yeah, now I get it. Because I didn't know who Senegal played. That's why I was like, why are they choosing
They played against Burkina
Faso? Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah, sorry.
So watch the game tonight, okay? Cameroon, Egypt, a very big game.
A very big game.
Yes.
And obviously we'll be Joy Sports TV.
Yeah, we have live commentary on Joy 99.7.
Sure, you know how to do it.
Exactly.
That's right. Joy 99.7 FM is the place to go at 7 p.m., right?
Yes.
7 p.m. for that semi-final between what again?
Between Cameroon and Egypt.
Between Cameroon and Egypt. All right, thank you very much. And that's how we enjoy News Desk. For more news, you can log to myjoyonline.com. My name is Apeatse CBD. Enjoy the rest of your day.